All right. Well, here we are. Welcome back to another Re-Education Experience podcast. This is episode 99. Like, holy cow, this is the
Woo!
Wayne Gretzky episode, right? Episode 99. And I'm calling it From Patrol to Production. How Derek Thistle built a top 1%, actually like 0.001% solo business in under 5 years. But let me hit you with a bit of an intro so you guys can understand the context before I'm allowing him to say a few words. So, um, honestly, before I hit record today, and as I was like pondering who I'm going to bring on to this special 99th episode, because I only get one of these. And I had just brought in a lot of people through the podcast, through a series of frameworks, a series of my thought patterns, how I coach agents up into this business. And when I see opportunity where there's some parallels, this is how this show wanted to be, episode 99. So I took a second to reflect on the kind of realtor I've always wanted to coach. Not always the loudest, not always the flashiest, but the one who will show up, will dig deep, actually apply what they're learning out there from me and from the world. And when they do, guess what? Things start to work in their favor, right? When they take action. Today, you're going to hear from one of those agents who has taken that action. Some from my world, great graciously that he's given me an ear to listen to what I have to share, but also from the big world of real estate, which we all are learning from, and he's proof in the pudding. So, yeah. So welcome back to this special episode because this is where this is where the frameworks we've been talking about. I talked about the seven C's, Derek. I'm not sure if you've heard any of those yet. You and I have talked about the success triangle, right? You've heard me on stage with the core four. And then I talk about a few things called the Every Realtor's Plan. And honestly, without you even knowing it or even have heard all these things, all of this is coming to life through you every single day, my friend. And it's really neat to have you here to talk about this. So, Derek Thistle is one of Calgary's top solo agents. He's built that within the top 1% of business in under 5 years. It's unprecedented, the rise that he continues to have. And even wiggling him into this calendar today was near impossible because of how busy he continues to be. But what makes his story powerful isn't just those results, because we can all look. It's like, but there's some method to the madness behind the scenes, even though he won't admit it, right? Because he'll say it's like a duck running underwater. It's the process, right? A few years ago, just a few, Derek was a police officer. He traded eventually those patrol shifts eventually for open houses, right? He tried the mega team model where he was an agent and then eventually went solo intentionally to try something different. So today we're going to unpack a few things. I didn't prep them, right? We're going to unpack mindset. We're going to unpack some systems. We're going to unpack some daily disciplines that turned this newcomer now into full-fledged top producer that we all look up to. So I hope you guys on this episode listening walk away realizing just how possible this path still is. So it is time to dive in. Derek, let's kick it off right there. Welcome to the show. Back to the beginning with you. You were a police officer. You made that decision to jump into this crazy business. And what was the biggest mindset shift that you had to make that move to be like patrols to open houses, right? I want you to give us a little context for you jumping into that world so that we can give you that and then people can listen through that lens and then of course we'll unpack where you've gone.
Yeah, you bet. First of all, what a welcome. Man, I'm blushing over here.
Trying. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can deliver. You've set it up, you set the bar. Um, no, I'm super blessed to be here. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was a copper for 17 years in Calgary. When I got hired, I started policing with the intention this is it. This is my career. I'll do my 25 years and that'll be that. But in 2020, things started to change for me. Upstairs,
Mm.
right? Things started to get things changed. I went from going Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky my entire career, Mr. Energy, Mr. You know, I was just having fun. I loved my job, but I started to not love it, right? And I started to get I just wasn't myself anymore toward the end of 2020. And
Mm.
then there was a series of really, really, bad events that kind of happened. That was the catalyst to me ultimately trying something different, right? I won't go into a lot of detail, but there was a lot of death, suicide, people I knew, kids. Um, and in January of 2021, my last call as a police officer involved a 5-year-old who was, you know, sexually assaulted by her uncle. Like no one should see
Oh,
that, right?
totally.
And me being a father of two girls, it was extra tough for me, right? So a 5-year-old sexually assaulted a week earlier, a 12-year-old girl who committed suicide. And again, I was at a point in my career where, we all become a little bit jaded anyway. But for me, I'd never ask for help. Coming from
Right.
Newfoundland, being, my mid 40s, I was too cool for school to ask for help. So I wasn't sleeping. My relationship was falling apart. I wasn't being a good dad to my kids. And that final call in January of 2021, I went home that day after, overtime. I was working probably 17, 18 hours. I went to the gym to blow off some steam. Maybe there is somebody upstairs looking out for us because I grabbed a heavy dumbbell deadlift and hernia.
Ugh.
Went to urgent care where I literally had surgery the next day.
Wow.
But now I was on medical leave for 3 months, and someone suggested to me like, "Hey, you should try something more positive with your life. Like
Mm.
you're a mess." And they said I'd probably be good at real estate. I'm like, okay. So I actually, while I was on medical leave, I got my license, and I'll keep this quick, with the intention just doing it part time
Sure.
until I can retire in 7, 8 years, and then maybe full time. But then at the 3-year mark, I went to get cleared for active duty, and my doctor said, no. He said, you're depressed. You have complex PTSD. He says, I can't let you be anywhere near guns. Right. And I was having those dark thoughts and stuff. And I'm in his office crying in front of him. Right.
Hmm.
So he put me on stress leave, which again, I was too cool for school. I wouldn't accept the stress leave. So I took an unpaid leave of absence with no money. I think I had three grand in my bank account and a pretty open credit card. But I said to my partner at the time, you know what? I'm going to try real estate. People need houses. Can't be that hard.
Here we
And
are.
then here we are.
Crazy. So that's the context that we're coming from to say, like, okay, like that context is great because as we're listening, and whoever's listening, wherever you're listening, it's that story is not yours. And then the final results for which we talk about is something that we can all get to, but it's we all coming from some origin and transition story. Derek's involves a lot of stuff that are way harder than any of us have had to go through. And that's, I think, important to note for how he was able to turn around. You jumped into this business, my friend, and you joined a mega team, like one of the largest mega teams on the planet early on. What was that experience like? And then what made you realize you were better suited for solo?
Yeah. First off, I'm very grateful. I started there. I think it was like real estate school,
Yep.
right? These guys were a big deal in the industry, and they had a lot of time and money invested in training and systems and processes. And my biggest fear getting into this business is, well, I don't have any people to sell houses to. Like my friends and family are in Newfoundland.
Right.
Right. And when I first dipped my toes in, I'll be honest, I was a little ashamed that I had left policing, right? A little embarrassed. If coppers were to reach out to me, I would ignore them. I alienated a lot of people in the first year because I just didn't want to have anything to do with policing. I felt like a major failure, like I let everybody down, right? It's like how is the police going to move forward without Derek? Right? That was the mindset. But anyway, so I joined this team with the promise of, being given, clients, leads,
Yep.
right? Which was, yeah, legit. There was more leads and people to call than we know what to do with. But
Sure.
it was interesting because on a team of 80 odd people, only a handful of us were actually, taken. I'm like, well, if it's a numbers game and they're telling me I gotta do this, this, and this. well, I'm a good soldier. They've done the homework. I'll do this, this, and this. And then I found instant success. I sold 5 houses in my first 3 weeks.
Crazy. It's like, oh, they have a system, they have a process, they've created a machine. I guess I'll play the part. And yet,
Well, it made sense. Like
mhm.
they said, you do this, 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 and this. I remember one piece was the bomb video. They're like, within 30 minutes, you have to send everybody a bomb. I'm like, that makes sense,
Yeah,
right? So they can get to know me. But I found out that of those 80 odd people on the team, maybe five of us were doing the videos, right? But anyway, it was great. A lot of training, good people. I enjoyed it, but I knew I didn't want to, I didn't want to be on a team. I wanted to create my own,
yeah,
I don't know, brand, my own legacy, if you will.
sure.
Right. And, I'm not going to say who the team was, but I remember we weren't always aligned, right? Mindset wise. I remember being called into the office and they said, hey, you need to dial down your social media. I'm like, well, why is that? Did I do something wrong? Like, well, no. People are calling the office asking for you. You're not the brand. This person
Mm,
is. It's like,
mm,
well,
mhm.
so after 9 months, I done 49 transactions in my first
Crazy.
9 months. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna, gonna give this a shot myself. And that's what I did.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, having that awareness as a new agent to realize there was a misalignment that fast in a model and a machine that was working super well. That not everybody could kind of like wrap their head around that because, like, again, you would just what you just shared, 49 in 9 months is a success story unbeknownst to itself, and every team leader would want that, right? But yeah, you saw that as an opportunity to say, okay, it's time to go do my thing. I've got some reps in, more reps than most people would do inside of 10 years, right? Because the average agent in Calgary, where we are, is about 5 deals a year. So you did 49 in nine. That's like 10 years of experience in 9 months. So crazy. Um, if you could sum up the first, maybe from that next round, right? First, let's say first 18 months. What did you
Yep,
think you got right in those like first year and a half? So part half of that is with a mega team, and then half became on your own, right?
yep, yep.
And then what do you think almost broke you? Because in those first 18 months, it's pretty huge for a lot of us. All right. So like kind of like maybe let's start with right. What do you think you got right there that gave you that success beyond what we just talked about? And then I'll ask you the second question.
Yeah, for sure. When I first jumped into business, one concern I had was there's just so many realtors, right? I think there was 7,000 when I started. I'm like, why is anybody going to pick me? So
Right.
I got to be a little different, right? And I got to, put who I am out there. So I started posting on social media, every single day from day one. And that
Mm,
was really, really hard for me initially because I'm coming from a world where social media is frowned upon.
right.
Right. I never had my real name on a social media platform up until I became a realtor. It
Wow.
was Wayne Bond 007. That was my name. Because in policing, obviously security, safety
Yeah.
security is huge, right? So, and we have a social media policy at CPS this big,
Mm.
right? So I started posting every day videos on the different platforms, so Instagram, Facebook primarily, and they were terrible. They were so hard to look at, but I kept going. I believed in it. I'm like, you know what? It's all about, this is a relationship business. Is what I'm learning pretty quickly. And even meeting those leads from the team, some of them say, hey, like, you know what? We spoke to three different realtors. We like you, right? And some wouldn't, I'm sure. But I felt, hey, if I could, put myself out there and people can know who I am, I'm going to attract maybe like-minded people or people who are like me,
Yeah.
right? And who want to work with me. And over that 9 months, I posted every single day, and it wasn't until month number nine until the phone rang. 9 months of posting every single day. What I didn't realize though, I was building, momentum and starting to get traction, right? Um,
And at the
and
same time, you were doing the good soldier work that you referenced earlier. Yeah.
Right. I was posting a lot of real estate stuff. So I look back at it now and like no one cares if you post a sold house, but what it is, it's social proof, right? So it shows like, hey, this guy is in business. He's good at what he does, he or she. But I was sprinkling in a lot of, me, my girlfriend, my kids, my life, traveling, whatever, things I was interested in. And, people are seeing that, seeing who I am, like no trust and they're seeing that, hey, this guy's actually he's good at what he does and he cares. So I was
Mm,
posting a lot of, client stuff, a lot of videos, like possessions, just silly little entertaining skits, if you will. But I
yeah.
was gaining all this traction. And then month number 9, it just kind of
Started to come together.
started
I
to
mean,
come together.
I love the context to get to this point here. So what you did right was jumping into this world, didn't
Mhm.
stop the good soldier work that the machine was requiring of you that you'd learned, which was like you're going to take that skill set forever. You
Yep.
learned a set of platforms and skills, which is the complete opposite of what your past career was. It's not like you came from being a television superstar or you came from being a
Mhm.
radio host, right? You came from being a police officer that was muzzled on social media, right? And here you are throwing a
Yeah.
complete flip side of 180 to the world. And I love people to hear that because what they see of you today is like, oh my God, that doesn't make sense to me because like with that context, Derek has had to flip it, had completely learn all these things. And of course, you've got a personality that people love, but the authenticity that you shared and continue to share is something that we can learn from, which we will unpack. So, okay, so you did that's some of the got right world. What about what did you get wrong? Like what almost broke you in that first? Was there anything in this business that you can think back to those 0 to 18 that was like that this almost got me out of it despite the successes? Anything come to mind?
Um, I think I struggled with a lot of imposter syndrome,
Oh
stuff
yeah.
that you were helping me with. I think, coming from, an industry where like I'm paid every 2 weeks. Doesn't matter how many calls I go to or how many bad guys I arrest. Like I'm getting paid and I'm getting paid handsomely as a copper every 2 weeks. I know my future is set with a pension, benefits, just show up, right? So now moving into this industry is like, well, wait a second. If I don't, if I don't do a transaction, I ain't getting paid. There's no benefits anymore. There's definitely no pension, right? So, I'd have these months where I would just like when I first went solo, I had months where I sold 3, 4 houses. Life was good. Then I'd have a month where, it'd be slow. I remember 2 Septembers in a row, I sold one house. And each September I said to myself, well, I guess I'm a one-hit wonder.
Right.
Back to policing I go. Right. And I completely doubted myself. And I was coming off months doing, 8, 9 houses. And here I am having a bad month. And I'm like, that's it. Ready to throw in a towel.
The Corey Perry
Right.
curse. Yeah.
Right. Ready to throw in a towel. But when those months where I did start to feel slow, I'm the kind of guys like, well, how do I make this business, better for me? What do I need to do? What am I not doing? Let's look at the processes I'm doing. And I double down on me and I put the work in. I would go extra hard on social media. I would look at different ways of building my business. And wouldn't you know it, the
Mhm.
following months would be like 10, 12 deals.
I think because
Right.
I've got a connection to you and I know a little bit about, I remember, one of while we were coaching at one point, you had that September mindset where you're like, it's coming, it's
Yeah.
just going to drop down to nothing. And yet
Yeah.
you had already pulled off 70, 80 deals, and you were in that mindset, which is still funny, which I think lends itself really beautifully. So one of those things where I said what went wrong or broke us, what you just shared is the real estate roller coaster where you've
hmm
got the thing and that is so hard on a lot of agents, for one to just realize it exists and that's okay because when you stretch it over the year, that 1 month of one versus the 1 month of eight, it actually doesn't really affect you if you're reasonable with your cash flow and money management, right? But that roller
Totally.
coaster can hit so many people, especially when they're not even doing volume like you, right? You can toss out 3 to 4, and that might seem like way more than most people listening to this per month. They say, well, it's one every other month. And that roller coaster is crushing, isn't it? Right? Really
It
hard to get
is.
through. So, buddy, one of the frameworks that I've taught on the show recently, and the reason I brought the show back out alone is this concept of the seven C's. And these C's, it starts with courage, right? It's just like this quiet commitment to start something, to finally go, right? Then it goes into what's called clarity, which is like what matters most to me, like learning what type of agent you are, right? We talked about that, you and I, right? Then there's constraint. Constraint is deciding what not to do, right? Because sometimes you
Mhm.
and I just, it's not
Yeah.
just as much about what am I going to do every day? It's like, what am I not going to do because it doesn't fit? It doesn't align, like you said, with the team leader.
Well, that was a huge part of my business development. We'll hit on that after, but that was huge for me, that seat.
Totally. Then you get to, okay, I figured out what I'm not going to do, the things I'm excited for, but then it's like my bucket has a capacity limit. Sometimes our capacity limit is just like, so where does this fit in my damn life? Right? I have this cool big goal I'm going to chart, and everybody that joins a coaching organization is like, I want to make X, and it's a big number, and then the coach says, add a zero, and you're like, that, you know what I mean? But if you don't have a bucket, a capacity that will fit in your life, things are going to go bad real quick, right? The plan kind of stops. Then you get into, okay, well, okay, there's a plan here. I've got the bucket. I think I can figure this out. It's all going to fit. Well, what's the cadence, right? What's the rhythm? Do I have a rhythm? I need to
Mhm.
create a rhythm because then if you don't, you back to the real estate roller coaster, but it happens on a daily now instead of, results driven. C6 is commitment, which is that middle ground to say I'm going to keep going, like you said, while this is all unfolding. I think I've built the plan, but I need the commitment to keep moving, just like you in the gym. And then finally, well, you and I know that it doesn't always go well, does it? Right? Things don't
Mhm.
come in at the same clip we thought, at the goal we don't get to as fast as we'd want to. And I call that conviction, where there's like some internal fire to have you, Derek, hold the line, right? To hold the line. And that's kind of the journey that I've taken these agents through. When I say that, and you might have already brought that up, which of those C's, or maybe one or two, do you think has showed up as the most impactful for you in your journey? Anything come to mind out of those?
Well, like I kind of touched on, like constraint,
Yep.
right? I think, there's so many ways to do this business.
Mm,
When I first jumped in as a solo agent, I tried to do everything, right? And I kind of wore myself thin. Like, I'm sure I was big on social media, but I was trying paid lead gen. I had an ISA out of the United States. I gotta maybe do flyers or geo farming, need to host events. I was trying too many things, right? And then I'm like, well, wait a second. Maybe I need to have some constraint, and you help me with this, kind of shave off items or trim off items that weren't really working and focus right now on the things that were working. And that was huge for me, right? Because that made a massive difference right out of the gates. Um, I think consistency, commitment, and yeah, conviction. I'm my mind says I have to be the best at something. I'm not competing with anybody, but for me, if I'm not putting it all in, I don't. I'm just not satisfied,
totally.
and that goes beyond money and stuff. It's just I'm at a point now where I wanna be really really good at this. You
Totally.
know.
When you said constraints, and that's one of my
Mhm.
favorite too, it's one of those like trigger moves that when somebody finally embraces, it's
Mhm.
kind of the power of doing fewer but better. It is for a newer agent or even somebody kind of in some version of a plateau that has kind of like got squirrely, looking around, looking at their
Mhm.
peers, DMing the odd other realtor to say, hey, I want to learn from you, right? You're just getting pulled in 100 different directions. Was there something tangible that you could share with the audience where it's like, I stopped doing this so I could focus more on X? Like anything like strict where what you share might resonate with somebody's journey.
Yeah, and I ain't knocking any way to do this business,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of door knocking or community flyers, that kind of thing. Um, but for me, I was doing a lot of paid lead gen because when I was on that mega team, that was the systems and the processes, the way to do business.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, well, that's really the only way to do this, right? Is to put thousands of dollars a month into paid lead gen, to then apply the process, and then it's a numbers game, right? But I didn't want to build my business that way,
Yeah.
right? So, and the ROI isn't very strong, right? I mean, what's the conversion on an internet lead nowadays? 1%, 2% maybe,
One
right?
to
So I'm
two
like,
if you're good. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, but I did realize that I'm getting a lot of people reaching out through social,
Sure.
right? So I'm like, well, maybe I stop focusing on the paid lead gen for a bit, hit the brakes, right? And then kind of put more emphasis on becoming even more social on social. Maybe add an additional platform like LinkedIn, for example. So I made that conscious decision, like, you know what? I want to be one to many. I want to
Mhm.
cast the biggest net I can. And it sounds cheesy, but I actually like social. It's fun,
Well, yeah, and
right?
and it
I mean, I mean,
shows, right?
I make myself laugh, which is cheesy, but it's true. So yeah, so I made the decision right there and then to kind of, stop putting any kind of effort or time or money into paid lead gen and then build this business how I want to build it,
Yeah.
which is working with people who've already chosen me, who've already been consuming my content on social media, who reach out because they seem to like, know, and trust me, and then we build
Totally.
a relationship and go from there.
And let's share to the audience like your
Yeah.
Instagram follower count. How big is that? Just so people get a we talked about you being a top 1% inside
Oh.
the top half percent. And I want people to hear the full context here because there are people with really small followings and there's
Mhm.
people that are trying to grow it and then there's people with massive followings and you would expect. So tell me where
Yep.
you're at.
Yep. So I'm looking right now. I'm about to hit 4,000 followers,
There you go.
right? So if that's not many,
Yeah, this
right?
is not like God's gift influencer
No,
volume, right? Yeah.
no. I have friends who've admitted to me that they've bought followers, which is ludicrous.
Totally.
Um, I know realtors who do more business than I do, and they've got 500 followers,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? I think it's more about the quality, not the quantity, right? I think as long as you leverage social the way it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
i.e., be social, right? And
Yeah.
you've helped me actually apply a really, really good framework, which is kind of how I tackle business now. It's my overarching concept. We
Yeah.
talked
Yeah.
about lots of times before. We could touch on that later, the triangle. But
Yeah. We'll
that's
get
kind
into
of
that
my
too.
my sales funnel, if you will.
Totally. I love that you said constraint because that you and I lived through that real world where
Yep.
you had a skill set for another lead. Like you could have keep going with lead gen. You could have done these things and you would have been successful. Like you said, ROI would have been okay. It was a
Mhm.
great learned skill that many agents today don't have that would jump into online lead gen and they're not set up for it. They couldn't do it and they'd have a huge learning curve. You could have turned the tap on and done it, right? But
I was having success, to be honest. Like,
yeah,
I think my the provider I was working with said my close rate was under in the 10% mark. Right.
yeah,
So but I
yeah,
was applying all these systems. My CRM was ready to roll, bomb videoing. I had an ISA. Like I was applying the process and I was doing it. Right. I
yeah,
just didn't want to build a business that way.
totally.
Right.
It's hard to say no, and that's why I bring it up to things that work or or you could do. Like a lot of top performers in our industry have had top performer status in a prior industry or as an athlete or as a school someone, right? The winners in this business typically could go back to their life and they won in other
Mhm.
things. Right? Like you won as a cop, you were inside these great things, you were an athlete, I can't find a top producer who also wasn't premium somewhere in their past.
Mhm.
But you know what I mean? So if that's the case for those winning in this industry, you could pick any poison and make it work. But it's like this is where the other C that comes in that I wanted to bring up, which was clarity, which is even
Mhm.
before constraint, which is what you decided that I love social media. It wasn't just because I felt like I needed to be there, but maybe you did that to start. But you realized there was true clarity that like this is the type of agent I am. I love doing it. You learned yourself through it versus a forced behavior, which is most people's attempt on social, where it doesn't come
Yeah.
across as authentic and it doesn't land the inbound inquiries that you get. So that clarity piece of defining what realtor style am I allows you to then say no to some things, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Amazing. Cadence, repeatable rhythm you build in your business. Can you walk us through anything that you feel is kind of steadfast in your weekly rhythm? But I know you've got a lot going on, right? I mean, even today, fitting you in. What do you feel now is like a stationary piece that you've built in the rhythm among your, just so that we can share? Like maybe it's one or two things that are pretty consistent, or maybe it's a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, I mean, obviously, again, social. Like, I post two, three times every single day. But that's dialed in now to a point where I can, do a reel in 10 seconds, edit it in another 2 minutes, and post it 3 minutes later.
Hmm.
Right. So, and I kind of look forward to that. I mean, I'm on the treadmill at the gym and I'm like, what can I post? Idea, 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 idea. And then that's funny. I'll do something, right?
Hmm.
Um, I do have a structure, to be honest. Now it's more dialed in, more intentional. Whereas initially it was just like throw shit at the wall, hope it sticks.
Sure.
So now I have a bit of a game plan. So like I have a social calendar. We can touch on that if you want, but um, I mean, I'm very, very consistent with social. I don't think I've missed a day in 4 years,
Yeah.
right? Minus like honeymoon or vacation, things like that, right? But I understand the importance of it, and I don't want to take my foot off the gas pedal,
Yep.
right? Um, I'm getting better with my CRM. So I have time blocked 3 days a week where I spend 1 hour um, jumping into my CRM, making sure nothing's falling through the cracks.
Yep.
Um, on top of that, my assistant, my true business partner, my it's not really my assistant, she's my partner, just as a different role. We do overviews two, three times a week where we kind of go over everything just to ensure nothing is being missed.
Being missed.
Make
Yeah.
sure, make sure, we're capitalizing on every opportunity. I mean, a lot of times she'll reach out and be like, "Hey, there's an email, something about a referral. Did you want me to reach out to that person, start the conversation?" Yes, right. So she's like a really good fails or a
Yeah.
catch,
The catch-all. Yeah.
right? Catch up. So getting a little better at CRM, and it's hard,
Yep.
right? Like you can, like today we had this, but I also had four fires that came out of nowhere, a new buyer, a listing presentation
Yep.
that just came out of nowhere, right? So I find I struggle. I don't struggle because I'm getting better at it, but with discipline, right? So like I get up on a Wednesday, I look at my calendar, I know I got to do the time block CRM, but before I would kind of get distracted and go a different way. But
Right.
now I'm being very okay. I have to do my CRM.
Gotcha.
And even now, before we hopped on this call, I went through it. I went through my different funnels. I'm like, holy crap, I haven't sent that person a message in two months, and we
Yep.
know we're going to be listing their property in July, right? So send them a quick message like, hey, how's the prep going? You
Totally.
know? So to answer your question, I think consistency, definitely social media, getting a little better at CRM,
Yeah.
right? Pretty much it, and talking to my partner just to ensure everything is full steam
Totally.
ahead.
Now you hold a lot of listings, and our market shifts a little bit here in Calgary, so we're holding a little bit more than we're used to. And
Yeah,
there's a rhythm to your listing business too, right? Where you've got some, trying to keep them happy, keep ahead of all the
yeah,
questions they have. Anything come in the repeatable that you could kind of share it to somebody, like, what do I do weekly with my sellers, or do I do
100%.
anything?
Yeah, 100%. And this goes back to you yet again. The market did shift. When I started in real estate, I mean, a monkey could sell a house, right? Right out of the gates, I was very blessed with listings, but they were selling in an afternoon, right? So I didn't have a lot of those skill sets that we
Hmm.
need in this type of market, where it's managing emotions, it's a kind of educating and informing clients, kind of here's how this is going to go. It's not going to sell in 3 minutes, right? So I had to learn a lot of those skill sets. But to answer your question, one thing we've implemented, and this was from you directly, was the weekly report.
Oh, you're still doing those
Right.
too.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh, that's good.
This is for us. So I mean, if you look at people's biggest complaints with realtors is the lack of communication,
Totally.
right? And I've been very blessed with referrals, and a lot of people tend to say, sure, like energy, he's fun, blah blah blah, confident, but he's very responsive,
Hmm.
and he's consistently getting back to us, and he's communicating well.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like a lot of times I forget, but we have these systems in play that are touching on these people and they're feeling the love. So the weekly report is absolutely critical,
Mm.
right? And I mean, when you're carrying 15, 16, almost 20 listings with more coming, like how do you then, manage all those emotions? So the weekly report that you help us implement, I can't emphasize how powerful that's been for us. So here's what it looks like every Tuesday. So Brit, she basically does a quick little snapshot of what's happening in the market specific to that listing. Hey, just so you know, in the last 7 days, there's been three new properties, one sold. This is the best comparable. This is kind of what's happening. Cool,
Yeah.
right? Then we go, hey, you've had two showings. We've got one piece of feedback. Here's what it is. This is the realtor.ca hit counters. Here's who's looking at your listing. Here's who's favoriting it, and here's the social media numbers. Your video's been seen 18,000 times. Um, you know, uh, if you want to discuss further, reach out to Derek. And then people are, the feedback we're getting is like, I feel like you guys are working your ass off every single week. And that's it not only helps us like, make the client feel loved and that we're actually doing something and we're communicating, but it helps me, articulating what we need to do, as a team to get the listing sold. Like, hey guys, looking at the numbers here, I think at this point we need to entertain, a price reduction. Or maybe
Mhm.
we need to take it off the market for 16 days just to refresh it, come back with different exterior photos, whatever. But all that data shows that again, we're communicating effectively. We haven't forgot about them. We haven't taken their listing and just moved on to the next. We're there,
Yeah.
right? Now on top of that, we have a WhatsApp group chat with every single client.
Okay.
Okay, so we did implement that a few months back. So myself, Brett, my assistant, um, and everybody involved in the listing. We're very responsive. Even if I'm tied up in meetings and showings, Brit's messaging on my behalf. We're showing people that we're there for them. We don't care what time it is at the day. We don't set boundaries,
Yeah.
right? Because we think, if someone needs something on their listing or if they have a question, they're paying us a lot of money. We take this very serious. We want to show that we truly do appreciate their business. We will answer pretty much any time of the day. Now, no one really messages at 11 o'clock at night.
Well, that's the reality. You show that ability, you show that you're consistent and you're giving them the confidence in you beyond the, I like this guy on social, so I'm
Yeah,
going to trust him to do my life change. And then, wow, he's consistently in my inbox. And then
builds
it
it builds
buys you
trust.
grace. Yeah. Yeah.
It builds trust. And I mean, maybe it's something Carrie will get mad at me because I'll be cruising down Deerfoot with her heading somewhere and I'll get a message and I literally want to pull over and answer it that second. You know, I'm realizing that people probably can wait a couple of minutes till it's safe, but I have that instinct to, hey, if someone needs something, they deserve me to respond pretty much instantly. Not always again logistically possible, but I do my best to respond as quick as possible. And
So,
and people love that, right? It's not
yeah,
hard to respond to a text, even if it's like, "Hey, man, I'm tied up for 3, 4 hours on showings. I can call you then, or if it's super important, I can step out. Derek, don't worry, call me later tonight."
100%.
And
Yeah,
then they feel heard, they feel cared for, right?
totally. What is the thing that's driving you? You mentioned it that it's like you want to be at the top, right? You want to provide the best service. I mean, when you're at the level you're doing for the consistency you're having, and you actually live a pretty modest lifestyle, right? So I know like cash actually isn't the big driver right now, but like that push to keep going to do that. What is the thing that like pulling you or even is pushing you to just stay conviction to have conviction there to be like, man, I'm used to 8 deals a month and but it's four, like that's half, like that's a big number, but like to say like not just to roll up shop and go, like people need to know how simple conviction might need to be, or in some kinds it's really complicated, but what is it for you that just keeps you moving?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I've always had this inside me. I just want to be good at stuff, right? And I don't care about the next guy. I don't care if they're better, but I just I want to win. I'm sounds terrible, but I'm big on awards and accolades, right? When I was a sergeant, policing or team sergeant, I was constantly empowering my people, getting them opportunities, courses, specialty units. and empowering people because I felt, man, they'd work hard for me, right? And that's how I am. Like when I was rewarded in policing, I would work way harder, right? It's not about money in real estate for me. It really isn't. It's about doing someone right and knocking out the park for them. It sounds cheesy, but man, is it ever motivating. Plus, my daughters, I want to set, the example for them. Like look what you can achieve if you truly work your ass off,
Totally.
right? But it doesn't feel like work though when you actually like. I love this shit.
Well, the beautiful part is unbeknownst to you, you followed portions of like the 7C series that I
Mhm.
mythically came up with. And it aligns you into something that just feels so good that you're like, it doesn't feel like working. And, like it can be just like, I want to crush it. And it's because you're not running this like weird life of trying to be wannabe realtor that's based on
Mm.
the way somebody thought they should do it. Right. And I love that you've carved this very specific niche and you're going super hard at it and you're winning. Right. So you're in this version, like the every realtor's plan, I call it is maxing out your database, which is what you're working on,
Mhm.
right? Because you're going all in there and it creates business, right? It creates business. And then when you
100%.
max
Yeah.
out the business, then all of a sudden people that are, you got flags in the lawn, right? You got people that have called you, but these are people that know you, trust you, like you, have been watching you. But then that opportunity now creates more business, doesn't it? Right? So
Yeah.
you're maxing out your database, and now the goal is maxing out well the opportunity that's in front of you because you've got this wicked listing, you've got this asset to market, and that's how I call the every realtor's plan. It's a one-two punch. One creates others, and then it's this self-perpetuating machine. Um, when do you have time right now to max out the transaction, or is it still just maxing out the database and serving the client really well?
So I'm pumped that you brought that up because that's going to be something that I would want to focus on with you in the later part of, after, well, we haven't had a spring market, but once the dust kind of settles this year a little bit and naturally slows in the fall, I want to start exploring that part of the business.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Right now, I'm doing a really, really bad job of maximizing, a listing or how to, I don't know the term, circle prospect or whatever. I don't know anything. I'll be very honest, right? My database right now, like you've helped me make that switch. Like, rather than spending all this time and money attracting new business, I'm really trying to love on my database, the people who already like, know, and trust me. And we're doing things like the quarterly gifting service. We're doing a little more robust follow-up system after the sale,
Yeah.
right? And Darren, like the referrals have been
Totally.
like absolutely incredible. I can't go 2 days without getting a new referral, right? And it's from my database, my existing clientele, or people from my sphere who are kind of
Yeah.
seeing what's happening, and then, right?
Totally.
So to answer your question, I ain't doing anything when it comes to just your typical, listing. Sure, I do videos and I support those through social with different campaigns. YouTube ads now is our latest greatest thing we've started doing.
Yeah.
I'll touch on that after, but I'm also getting a lot of people reaching out organically saying, "Hey, saw your video. Would you do that for my house?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's yeah, right?
Totally.
Um,
I love that you shared that and transparently. I wanted people to hear that because you can be inside the 0.05% of this industry
mhm.
with a follower count that is like not what people think you need to go have a blow up business. And you could be screaming in deal flow and volume and being at the top of our industry and not even have a whole bunch running in what I call regrowth, which is like monetizing the asset. When you start to do that, Derek's business now becomes like one of the top in Canada, right? But like you can be already here inside the top 50 in Canada for you're at Remax with just that one little core of like focus, which I want agents to just hear and to sit on and realize, holy cow, it's not that you came from these crazy backgrounds. It's just that you're dialed in. You're just dialed in and you're consistent.
I just want to throw that out there for anybody who's listening. I mean, you know, uh, if someone goes all in, they just need to give it some time, right? To start seeing the
Yeah.
fruits of their labor, if you will, right? I mean, I can think of 6, 7 different ways to build a business. I focus on two,
Hmm.
right? But I focus hard on those two and I'm consistent. It didn't happen right away. Like I said, it took 9 months to get a phone call.
Totally.
But to this day, I kept doing it 4 years later. It's like a compound,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And now it's almost like it's on cruise control. I know exactly who's coming and when. It's amazing. But if I look at my business overall, there's so many pieces that I fall down on,
Sure.
but they're on the list.
Totally.
and
And they'll
and
get
we'll
there.
get
Yeah,
there. We'll
totally.
get there, right? When I have these slow months, of course, I'll double, triple down, and we'll put new layers on to make it even better for the following year. But like, if someone's listening to this, like, you don't have to have it all figured out.
Hmm.
You just gotta, pick your lane, build a business that you how you want to do it, go all in, be authentic, put the time in, consistency, have some constraint, commitment, conviction. Holy shit, look what can happen. And you don't need a big background or a big sphere. Shit, I'm the guy at Starbucks who gets referrals. Starbucks, because they know who I am, because I have those real estate conversations with everybody.
So you and I have talked about the triangle, right? Like, yeah, I think
My
it's
it's
like,
my funnel. That's my funnel.
right. This the success triangle I brought up in one of the episodes recently.
Yep.
And it's just this, and for you, it was to manage and max out your database, right? So it's like the triangle lens that I want you that you and I talked about was managing digital touch
Yep.
points and social media, which we've already talked about. We know Derek has that on lock with some traditional, meaning like pre-internet shit, right?
Yeah.
And like,
Physical. Yep.
how do you stay omnipresent and just drop a few layers, like you said? That has allowed the acceleration of your database, right? The in the core four, that's the active warm bucket. That's the people that know you,
Yep.
um, and hear from you, right? Like that's a small
Right.
group. Yeah. So, and what's the most recent kind of node within the triangle that you've implemented? Just to say, like, again, how simple this business can be, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I look at this business with this triangle lens. And again, something you taught me, right? I didn't really have like a formula, or like in policing, everything was a special operating procedure. So we had
Okay.
SOPs for everything. Heck, there was a manual on how to go to the bathroom in uniform, right? That's
Mhm.
the world I come from. So jumping into this business, there was no real structure. I remember watching a YouTube ad. You should make your phone calls from 9 to 11. Phone calls to who? What do I have to do? Like, there was no real structure. So I struggled that for a long time. I'd get up in the morning, I'd go to the gym, and then I'd be like, what do I do now? You know what I mean? So I really need a structure. Um, but yeah, the triangle, how I look at everything right now is in that triangle lens. So, like you said, there's the social tip, the digital tip, and the physical tip. So my mission is every human I interact with, I want to put them into my three pieces of my triangle, right? So a good example would be someone who finds me on social media. They reach out to me, we connect, we're talking a little bit. Well, I want to take that person and now put them into my digital world. Hey, you mentioned you live in Riverstone. I know you're not selling for the next 35 years, but let me throw a market report at you so you know how your biggest asset is appreciating. Why people love it. Derek, that's sick. Thanks, man. So now I have them in my social tip and my digital tip. Let me do one more for you. I've got this really cool video series on how to buy or sell real estate. I send out video updates. My people seem to love them. You mind if I send those to you as well? Shit, Derek, that's amazing. Cool. So now there are two of my three tips. Then the final mission is, hey, you mentioned you live in Riverstone. I'm having an open house. I think it's pretty comparable property to yours. Why don't you come over and check out how the neighbors live? Sounds awesome. So they come over every single time, or whatever that looks like. And now I'm in front of them, and well, lights out,
Yeah, you
right?
just win. You're
And
just winning the game. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Same with another example would be, meet someone at the gym. Of course, you get to talk in your, relationship business. Hey, yeah, I'm in real estate, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Oh, cool, man. Live in Parkland. Cool. Hey, check out my social media. I do all kinds of cheesy stuff about real estate and gym stuff because we have that in common. Before you know it, they're in my physical world or my social world. And then every time, hey, Derek, by the way, I am thinking about selling in the next year or two. Can you set me up on a like maybe like an automatic portal, whatever you guys call it? I can do one better for you. I can put you on my CRM, get video messages, send a market report. It's almost automatic now. But then they're getting touched on three different ways,
Mm. Yeah.
right? And then that sales funnel, I gotta be honest, every time I put somebody into that world, I mean, I can't speak to timelines, but they're picking me,
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard.
right?
You get him in there and you do everything that you said that we led up to this point in time. Derek's authentic. He's sharing the
Yeah.
things he loves to the people he loves about the things that he's doing. The people in that world just they just get further pulled in. So that when the
I'm
time is there, Derek's going to be the guy, right?
I'm
And then
just
if
keeping them top of mind,
yeah.
right? I'm seeing my buddy at the gym. What's up, Jimmy? Whatever. And then he's laughing at all my videos on social media. Maybe he's in the odd one. Now he's getting my monthly reports and listings. Before you know it, the phone rings. Hey, dude, it's been 6 months. My wife isn't awesome anymore. She wants me to move out. You come see the house because they think about me because I'm blah 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 in front of them.
Totally.
It's just
So tell me, you built leverage now. Of course, you've got a lean business. It's you, right? And then
yeah,
you've got another agent now that support is working with you a little bit, but we're still working on that. And but you have this really
yeah,
strong partner in Brit, right? It's
yeah.
who at the end of the day, she was an assistant hire, but she's integral in your business. Can you hit them? I know
Mhm.
we're running low on time. What do you use Brit for? Like, how does that work to support you? And what are if you were again coaching yourself or
Mhm.
coaching someone to say, get a Brit?
Yeah,
What is that for?
yeah, and I think it evolves, right? I hired her early, because I didn't want to do listing or inputs. That's how it all started, right? I was paying someone a couple $100 to do my listing input for me so I can just do other things like social media, right?
Hmm.
So that's how I first found Brit. I was actually doing a deal with another agent, and she was communicating with me on behalf of the agent, condo docs, booking inspections. I'm like, holy shit, I don't like to do these things. So I started to work with Brit. Initially, it was only a few tasks, right here and there, but it kind of grown to a point where, well, what can I now how can I leverage her so I can spend more time doing the things that I want to do, which I
Hmm.
call money making activities. Right. So now, I mean, where we started versus where we are now is very different. Like
Right.
now, if I get a new referral, the first thing we do is a client intro to Brit. We set up a group chat. She then puts the person into my CRM, assigns an action plan based on their timelines, their what they want to do. Next step is she automatically builds a portal, and then I'll do things like bomb video these people to rehumanize the process. Um, and she'll do everything from sending out my app. I'll have clients mark favorites on the app, which is connected to the MLS. Then
Yeah.
when it's time to go book showings, Britt will then hop in, take those favorited properties, and then she'll book my showing tour and send it to me and the client. I don't even book
So
showings anymore.
how did you go from I'm on a mega team, kind of like
Yeah,
you played a role,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden I'm on my own, and then like what you just shared, if an
mhm,
agent had that running in their business, I think a lot of them would be like, oh, that would be amazing, right? But it's just like you just started doing this and working through this. What do you like? How can we get agents to reach out to find that $10,000 part-time hire that turns into a half a year, full-time employee? What do they have to do to get out of their one way to just say, I
I
need the money
think
making?
I,
Or
I know it's hard. Like I know it's hard, right? Like when I first started using help, people were like, "Well, I can just do it myself and save the money." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine, but wouldn't our time be better utilized building the business?"
Mhm,
Right? So I think people just got to recognize that, hey, you pay people that are likely better than you to do what they do best, so you can focus on what you want to do. And we only have one job in this business, in my opinion, that's lead acquisition. There's 1,000 good realtors within a stone's throw, but he or she who has the most clients wins.
mhm.
So we need to focus on money making activities like marketing, 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 attracting clients, and then let someone else do well, I won't say the dirty work, but
Sure.
right. So my advice would be you got to strongly consider hiring some help to at least take a lot of that paperwork off your plate. I mean, condo docs or getting inspections booked or filling out paperwork. It's so time consuming. FinTrack, bleh,
Well,
right?
I mean, I think we can feel busy in the inbox, busy in the finding the favorites, busy in the seller's report that we all do ourselves. And we can tell ourselves by the end of the day, we did something valuable. But the agents that are willing to have the courage to say, oh, I am more valuable than that task to my business. When you've offloaded 4 hours a day, you actually go do something with those 4 hours to grow. And I think a lot of agents don't
Exactly.
do it because they're not willing to put in those lead gen acquisition. They would rather feel busier in the minutia than unfortunately get out there and do it. Does that feel right from your experience out there
Uh,
too?
1,000% right. Right. There's also this thing with realtors where they don't want to spend money. I mean, I get it, right? Paychecks sometimes can be spread out. I mean, I get it, right?
Hmm.
But we're in business. How many businesses do you know that don't spend any money or don't have any overhead?
Right.
It's baffling to me. I
Totally.
will spend money all day long to make money. It's that simple.
I've got some clothing thoughts for you because I know you got to run. There are agents listening right now who are sitting in their cars between showings, right? Some of them are wondering if they've missed their window or if I can even do this thing, right? I hear Derek's story. If you could speak to that agent, the one who's stuck but not yet out, right? What would you tell them?
Well, this is the best business in the world, right?
Totally.
Hit the brakes, don't go nowhere. Just reevaluate how you want to do this business, right? I would really focus on, what's worked for me, what do I enjoy doing, and then go all in. If it's social, great. If it's door knocking, fantastic. If it's hosting Stampede events, power to you. Whatever, I would say figure out a way to do this business that you truly enjoy, put the time in, be consistent, have conviction. I guarantee your true authentic self will come out. You will attract people that are like-minded. And then once you deliver that unparalleled real estate experience, one deal turns into two deals.
Totally.
Right? So, I mean, if a guy from Newfoundland with 1 year of university who's been chasing bad guys and giving good people bad speeding tickets, if I can do it, I think anybody can do it. Right? So,
Well, man, this is why again we could have taken 10 episodes to go through your journey, right? But this is why I wanted to hear from you, Derek, right? You didn't need a gimmick, right? You didn't need to go viral. You got really good at doing things consistently that worked and believing in yourself long enough for the results to catch up, like that 9 months and beyond, right? You know,
mhm.
Derek's story proves something we've been saying since episode 84 when I relaunched this, which is you don't need to become someone else to succeed in real estate, right? You just need to build a business that's real, repeatable, and rooted in who you actually are in this business. And I can't find a better example of that, right? If this episode, you guys, hits home for you, if you saw a bit of his story in you, right? I just invite you to just lean into the message. Go back to some of the episodes that we might have referred to that you didn't. And Derek, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and finding time in your day. It's been an honor to watch the journey, to take part in portions of it. But it's just, I can't, it's going to be so awesome to see where you continue to go and how you do it in such a graceful way, propping up people all along the journey. And how do we find you, Derek? What's the Instagram handle? That I know that's like your home base.
Yeah, Derek Thistle underscore real estate. And I love when people reach out. I drop everything to talk to people, to spitball, and we learn from each other, right? I will say this though. I want to say a sincere thank you to you. When you started coaching me, you really truly did change my business. And I've been quick to tell anybody who would listen that. And I hope people that are listening see value in aligning with somebody who could truly help them. And I'm not trying to give you a shameless plug here, but I gotta say, you Darren have changed my business, and I can't thank you enough. And I'm looking forward to where we're gonna go with this and how much knowledge and experience you can pass on to me. I'm excited, man. So for that, thank you.
Well, buddy, it's been awesome. It's been a pleasure on all fronts. And anyways, that has been another Re-Education Experience podcast, you guys. This was episode 99, and we got some big ones coming. So stay tuned, plug in, click this on repeat, share it with a friend, and make sure you reach out to say, Derek, I listened, I loved it, and give him a shout out. So thank you so much, my friend. Till next time.
Thanks, brother.